dishwasher. It's about 12, maybe 10, I don't know, 11, 12 years old, something like that. That's the model number if anybody cares. It has been making a mess of the dishes lately. I took this apart about maybe 5 years ago, and there was some stuff in there we had to clean out, but it was really doing a bad job. So I'll video the reassembly process. I didn't think about doing this during the disassembly, but I'll put it together. Maybe it'll help somebody out taking it apart, just reversing the steps. But there's a lot of junk built up from a long time of use. Here's a shot of the internals that I've taken out already. I'm going to soak these and see if I can scrub them up real good. But I think the root of the issue is this funky buildup everywhere. This is the filter. Worth noting, and I'll go over this when I put it back together, worth noting there's a real thin washer that needs to be kind of babysat and watched out for in there. And then this piece is the filter. That obviously is not filtering everything out. I don't know if this is just grease buildup or what, but it's gross, and I'm just going to clean it all out of there, soak this, and get it all cleaned up. The top rack, you can see the unit that throws water underneath there, and then there's a pipe that goes to the back of the machine. The water distribution system, so this goes into the bottom on top of the filter I showed earlier, and there's a couple of connections here for the top rack, and then there's the splasher unit here that spins around and gets water on top of the upper tray. But you can see there's a lot of buildup on everything, so this whole unit comes apart. All this stuff feels a little cheesy and cheap when you take it apart, but so far no problems with cracking or breakage or anything, even after 10 or 11 years of solid usage. This is the cover to the garbage disposal, whatever, the gross food grinder at the bottom. You can see right there, there's just one screw that holds that in, and it just drops in and out. You gotta wiggle it a little bit to get it out of there, but it doesn't hold on too tight. 5 screws that came out of it. These 4 here are all T20, Torx T20s, and there's a Torx T15. This is the one that holds the cover for the garbage disposal piece. Use one of these little blue scrubbies and a little bit of dishwasher liquid, and I'm going to scrub all that junk out. I already hit it a little bit on the top, and you know, there's quite a bit of difference already. Just get that goo off the walls in here. I don't know what it's from, but it's definitely plugging the works up. Crappy toothbrush I use for like detailing car rims and stuff like that. I'm going to use that to get into all these little grooves. As you can see, I've gotten some of that stuff off, but that real issue here is that this white stuff, which I'm guessing is some kind of grease or fat or something, is just not coming out of here, and it's coating all the dishes whenever you run it. It just recoats everything in here. A little bit of what used to be clean water into this little tray area. So I've got a little bit of water to dip the brush and the Brillo in while I'm working on it. What's plugging up the works here is this. It's a soft, putty-like, I'm guessing it's got to be fat from something, but it's everywhere, and it's soft goo. So I'm just scraping all this stuff off. I don't want it going down the drain. So we're going to scrape all that stuff off. Then we're going to clean this up with some dish soap and hot water. I could get of that fatty goo in there, and I'm just going to use a toothbrush and the Brillo to scrub this stuff off. I'm just using dish liquid, dish soap, regular dish soap for this because I'm going to rinse these off real well. Paper towel, and I just kind of removed as much of the residue as I could real quick. I'm not going for perfection here, but you know, I already see it looks a lot better. And something else strange I noticed, the screws that hold this this fascia on the inside of the dishwasher, some of these were kind of a little bit loose when I was cleaning up along the edges here, and so I just hit those, tighten them up. They're T15s as well, Torx T15. Distribution pipe. is one piece. I was hoping it came apart, but it's a one-piece unit. So that makes it a little difficult to clean. Not a lot of space to work on. Piece that fits on the bottom, it does come off. I just didn't notice that clip until now. But the main water distribution pipe is still really long and awkward. But this comes off. The thing I noticed in here as I'm digging around is that residue is coating the insides of the pipe. Whatever it is, it likes to stick to plastic a lot. That's how we noticed that anything plastic that went into the dishwasher was coming out with a white thin film on it. So I'm going to have to rig something up to clean that out, and then the fun one will be rigging something up that will clean the inside of that boy. The flapper valve, and it does come off the pipe here. We don't ever use the top rack adjusts up and down. We never use it in the down position, so the top position fitting here has a flapper on it, and the flapper is just kind of stuck permanently in the open position because we never really use the other setting. But a lot of junk has gotten in there, so that's got to get cleaned up. But as you can see, this is just one big unit. What we're looking at here is a piece of Cat 5 Ethernet, just an old crappy piece of Ethernet cable I had laying around. It's just, you know, junk. So I just pulled the shielding off and turned the end into a little bit of a brush. So I'm going to use that to fish through and see if we can break up some of that junk inside here. See, here's the Ethernet cable, and I just pushed it down through the pipe, and it's coming out, and it's already breaking some of that junk up. So mainly I just want to break that stuff up in there, and I think I'm going to run the dishwasher once empty and see if we can get it to kind of self-clean a little bit. Sink down, and a ton of, because a ton of pink greasy stuff came out of the tube, and then I figured out, you just with a little bit of gentle prying, the filter pops up off this bottom section piece. So if this was in the dishwasher, it would look kind of like that. And there's a keyway here, so you can't accidentally put it back on wrong. Sink down, and a ton of, because a ton of pink greasy stuff came out of the tube, and then I figured out, you just with a little bit of gentle prying, the filter pops up off this bottom section piece. So if this was in the dishwasher, it would look kind of like that. And there's a keyway here, so you can't accidentally put it back on wrong. This spinner unit looks like it comes apart. I'm not going to mess with it because the plastic seems a little fragile. It is kind of old, so I didn't want to crack it. But that does look like it comes apart if I was going to go in and clean a little bit more. But I'm going to skip that. And we're going to let it soak and see if I can get it in there, maybe with the wire, with the Ethernet brush. This piece that clamps onto the water distribution pipe, there are two gaskets. There's an internal gasket here, and you can kind of see the little tabs. They just fit into the tabs in here. And then there's that flapper valve I was pointing out earlier. So I cleaned these off real good. As good as they're getting anyway. Ethernet cable brush. I can't get into this much past this corner here. It kind of dead ends the corner because this gets pretty thin. There's not a lot of space in here to keep the pressure up. So what I did is I poured a little bit of soap in there, and I just used the spray head. It fit in there, and I just ran it until water came out clear on that side. So there's probably still some residue in there, but I'm hoping I got most of it. Assembly time. So I'm going to start by putting the cover of the garbage disposal back on there, and that is this piece. So it just drops straight in. There is a single screw in here, and that's that one screw that's different from all the rest. This small one right here. In there, and that screw is a T15. Torx T15 screw for that. Assemble the filter. The filter's got a keyway right here that matches up with the keyway right there, and it just snaps in place. There's a lip around the edge of that, and the filter snaps in place over top of that lip. Here's the assembled filter unit. clipped right on. This fits right in there. Just like that. Looks just like that once it's in. 4 Torx T20 screws that fit in here. There are 2 up here that are close to each other, and then 2 that are far apart. This one in the center of the screen is covered by one of the water distribution pipes, so you need to get those in before putting any of the pipes in. So those are the 4 screws all in place. Here's that water distribution pipe. That's the top. That's the bottom. When I took it apart, all these parts kind of stuck together. And like I mentioned before, ours tends to, we use the top rack, not the tall rack. So this goes on top of here, and it just basically sits there. It was stuck to it when I took it apart because all the goo had glued it down. Here's that clamp that goes over top of it. This is a little rubber gasket in here that we cleaned out underneath. The gasket simply clips in place with these slots and those tabs. I took this apart, this end unit that goes over top of the filter system down here, I took it all out in one piece. I'm going to try and put it back in 2 pieces. So this just rotates onto this. There's little keyways down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it started. I'm going to see if I can slip that on the end and pop it in and then just rotate it once I get the pipe hooked up. Otherwise I might have to just do it as one big unit. Worth mentioning while I'm in here, there's a clamp here on the back, and there's a clamp on the top that clip the water distribution pipe in place. This little unit distributes water to the bottom sprayer. It has a small gasket. When I took it off, the convex side of the gasket was up, concave side of the gasket was down. I don't know if it matters, but I'm going to put it back the way I found it. That just slips around there. And this whole unit just drops in and sits right there. Sits down just a little bit under the rim there, and there's that gasket or washer. Okay, so I've got my water distribution pipe assembled in here. I just slipped it in there. It wasn't too big of a deal. And there's that little unit that will eventually hold the sprayer on. So this clips in. We're going to rotate that in, and I'm going to try to rotate this around and clamp it in without causing any damage as a single piece. Once I got that totally settled down on the base there, I noticed I was getting some resistance from the top. The water distribution pipe was bumping over top of that ledge, so sliding that in and angling it down a little bit gave me enough leeway to get that in, and it will lock in place now. Alright, as you can see, the unit's locked in place. All these keyways slid in. There's also one underneath here, which is very difficult to see, but there's another one that locks in place there. And then we've got these clamps, and I can't do it one-handed, but simply just push that in. And then on the top, there's a clamp right there, and that snaps in. When I took this apart, I found it was easier to kind of straddle the door of the dishwasher and reach in with both hands and stretch those clips out a little bit with my fingers, and then it popped loose rather than just jerking on the pipe to pull it out of there. assembled, you'll see that this piece doesn't really spin. In there it looks like it should. There's a little top on it, and I don't think it should spin, but there's some threads on that, and they match up with the inside of here, so that just screws back onto that. Alright, so it wasn't turning before I had it pressed down there. It shouldn't be pressed down, it should be a little bit loose, so it should spin. I had pressed it down, so just if yours isn't moving, just pull that back up and out a little bit, and then we should be able to get that distribution sprayer on there. Threading this in is pretty tedious, especially trying to lean over the dishwasher door. But what I'm doing is I'm lifting up on that tab while I'm trying to spin that unit on, and it's clockwise, it looks like to me. A little tedious, but you can see it's done now, and it locks in once you've got it all the way in there. Kind of locks in place, so you can spin it with this piece here. Should spin freely in there. It's a little rock and rolly. I'm going to pop this top shelf back in. So at the end of each one of these rails, there's a clip that pops out, and the wheels for the shelf, the back ones go in there, you drop them, and it rolls right in. This thing over here. So here's our wheels. They drop in, roll back, then you drop the second wheel back in. This distribution pipe, the water pipe here, is going to hook up in my case with the top one of those, because we never really drop that down. We don't have like big stemware or anything we have to put in here. So there we go, the front. That's the front wheel for the top drawer. And this little guy just clips back in. So slide it back a little bit, and it clips nice and easy. It's not, doesn't take any force really. Same thing over here. And then when I slide that in, we should see that matching up. The unit, and I'm just running it on quick cleanup mode real quick. Let's see if we can get this going with the top connector. I'm going to run this once empty and see if I can clean that up inside a little bit just by running it. Here are the tools I used for this. The T20, a T15 Torx screwdriver, Brillo pad, and not a Brillo pad, it's some generic scrubby, and an old toothbrush to get all that stuff cleaned up in there, and a little bit of soap and elbow grease. And there we go. Ran it one time through, and as you can see, got most of that crud that I kind of loosened up just on that one clean cycle. Got a little bit of stuff here and there, but it looks way better. And I'm going to run a full load of dishes. Make sure it works on the real deal now. Oh, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe below.